The first piece of business is an ordinance offered by Council John Heelan as president. An ordinance regulating the license of taxi cabs in the city of Everett.
Mr. Chairman, on the motion. To you, Mr. Chairman, is this items number 1, 2, and 4 new ordinances that we're trying to put forward to have some regulations on these items? Am I understanding that correctly? Right. Business certificates. Okay, so. Sure. So I'll make a motion that we add the language into the motion, into the item, with no objection of my colleagues, to put tighter restraints on requirement to be able to obtain the license, and refer it down to our city clerk, Mr. Matarazzo, to add the language in there, if my colleagues don't object, but that's okay.
On the motion? I just had a question. So,
This is a.
Yes, I do. They have a parking spot for that, and there's definitely a law. Oh, no. You have to come back. Okay, so
wait a minute, on the motion still. On the motion still. I just had a question. I really haven't had opportunity to read this, so I know it's going down and it's gonna come back to us again. So I do like to have the opportunity to go over this, since I wasn't in the meeting last, so I can just get some idea on it before I make any decision. All right, thank you.
Yeah, on the motion, is the language that the city clerk is recommending, is it already in this copy? No. Okay. All right. So if we send it down to them, it'll come back to this committee for us to make a decision. Here's your time. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Item number 2 is an ordinance offered by Council John Heelan as president, establishing livery licenses in the city of Everett.
Again, I have not had the opportunity to review this. I know this has been here, so I'd like to, yes, I just had one question. Is there any language in here, or do you know if they have a livery service, if they're gonna be garaging them, or they're gonna be parking them on the street? Because, so with,
Yep, I heard the question. So, in our ordinances, I'm sorry, Sergio Canelio, Assistant City Clerk. In our ordinances, you're not allowed to have taxis and livery plates parked overnight. During the day, you can usually park on streets, but overnight you can't park. They're supposed to be garaged either, currently, just so you know, we give business certificates. It was rampant, the city council last year put a moratorium on it for a year until the Uber situation and things like that worked itself out. Still hasn't completely, but the moratorium is up now. We've seen business certificates increasing again for this. This is what brought us to having a license, plus, having hotels and the casino coming in and people looking to get licensed. We prefer them to get some type of license if they're gonna operate out of the city. They don't have to live in the city, because a livery company can operate out of the city of Everett, as long as your cars are registered here. Maybe you have a 4-bay garage that you're renting from someone, doesn't mean you have to live here, but those cars have to be registered out of the city of Everett. That's what our goal is, to license them. They should be garaged, or if you only have one car, they can be off-street. If you have a driveway, they should be parked off-street. It's what we currently tell them, and that's in our ordinances in the parking section.
So-
Traffic and parking.
so they're not allowed to park on the street at
They are
night?
not, and they're not supposed to get any
Placard.
placards or stickers
Okay,
for parking.
okay. All right, I'll take a look at this, thank you.
Yes. Just want to be sure, is overnight parking enforcement aware of that?
Yes, I know recently the question came up because somebody was saying he used to get a placard at one time. I brought the ordinance down to parking enforcement downstairs. I put it on the window so that way they knew, and they have, from what I know, informed their
So if they're going down the street and they see there's a vehicle
There's
with
supposed to be-
livery plates,
yeah,
that
over
would be
there,
the first highlight. They check to see where it's registered. If it's not registered in Everett,
Well,
well, first of all, it shouldn't be on the street
if
anyway.
it doesn't have one of those stickers, it should get it. There should be you shouldn't be getting a sticker with a livery plate. That's
Right.
the main thing. So once you see that there's no residential sticker on the window, it should be getting tagged immediately.
All right, I just want to make sure that,
Taxis are
I
the
think it's,
same.
I think it's good that we're addressing this, especially with the way things are going to develop over the next couple of
Correct.
years. I just want to make sure that we're not creating an ordinance that is not going to be enforced.
No, again, I would imagine it's going to be enforced. The other thing is, since it's a license of yours, I can actually fine also. Once it's a licensee of yours, I'm an agent of you, and I can actually fine in some of these instances,
Okay.
as I currently do, just so you know.
All right, great, thank you.
Yeah, I won't be doing that, but I can, I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, this job was supposed to keep them off the streets at night. All right, thank you. That's really my only concern, is I just want to make sure that all parties are on the same page. So this way here, if we're not allowing livery vehicles overnight anyway, there shouldn't be any, and they should be tagged or,
And when we update ordinances, we usually work with whatever department. So if it's code enforcement, we'll explain to them, oh, this is what the city council just passed, we'll give them the new ordinance, these are the rules, this is what you should be looking for. I mean, we do try to work together. There is some cohesiveness in City Hall. We try to work together and explain things that are progressing, so.
Okay,
And we'll
great.
make sure we do that with this, with the parking director.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All set? Okay, so the motion then is
Mr.
to
Chairman,
refer
I'm
this
gonna
back
make
to the city clerk for him to add in the following topics on garages, licensing, and living residents, okay? Is that it?
I'm sorry, I'm confused on this. So we have to add that into the
Yes.
ordinance? I apologize, I thought it was already in the ordinance, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Okay?
So I'll make a motion again that we refer this back to City Clerk Matarazzo to add that language into the ordinance,
Uh-huh.
and then back to us.
Second? Second? Motion made in second. All in favor? All opposed? You have passed the,
Mr. Chairman, can we take item number
Resolution.
4 off the calendar, please?
you want?
Take item number 4 off of the calendar, please.
Hold on. Clerk will read item number 4, please.
Item number 4, this is ordinance sought by Council Anthony DePiero as president to add a new section 12-54 to license and business regulation. The fee for each license granted for lodging house license in the city of Everett shall be $30 for the first 8 rooms and $30 for every room thereafter.
Motion made and seconded for affirmative action. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nays. The ayes have it. We've passed the ordinance. That goes with that. Clerk will read item number 3.
Item number 3. This is ordinance sought by Council John Hill as president. In accordance with the provisions of Section 12 of the zoning ordinance of the city of Everett, the city council hereby amends by adding a new Section 32, inclusionary zoning.
Mr. Chairman, on the motion?
Yes, Counselor?
This packet that we received here tonight on our desk, is this new information or is this existent information? Do we know?
Yes. Yes, this is what we had.
Okay.
Yeah, Counselor, this is what we had the other night.
Yep, this is as of today. So this is new information as of today.
The what?
This is new information as of today, Mr. Chairman? Okay.
Sure. Mr. Souza, would you, if all in favor, Mr. Souza, would please come forward.
Aye.
Good evening, Tony Sousa, Director of Planning and Development. The information that you've received today, some of it is new information. By information, we did prepare for this evening a PowerPoint presentation as a requirement, at least I've been informed, as a requirement whenever a PowerPoint presentation is given, that handouts be made available to the members. And that is this document that I've provided to the council's benefit. In addition, the other information that I provided to you is actually additional copies from the prior meetings as well. Publication memo to President DePiero dated January 23rd, 2017. You have received these at the last meeting. Also, there is a copy of the draft zoning ordinance as well that was provided at the last meeting. By last meeting, not at this committee, but at the other committee which this was taken up at. There is a committee of whole recommendations not provided by my office, but prepared here for your benefit. All I can speak to is this that you've received. It is new information, but it's simply a requirement that I was always asked to provide whenever doing a PowerPoint.
Mr. Chairman, on the motion. Seeing that we've received new information this evening and I need to really thoroughly study this information, along with these correspondence that we received this evening, I think would be a rush decision to vote to pass this along tonight. I think by granting us a little bit more time to be able to read this new information that was shared with us this evening would give us a better understanding and fully in-depth decision making. So I'm not prepared to vote on this tonight, but my colleagues can do it as they wish, but I'm not prepared to vote on this tonight due to the new
Mr.
information.
Did you say you had some other additions to it?
My only comment is this information that I provided is for the purpose of a PowerPoint presentation if the council wished to have that tonight. The other document is a one-page from the Committee of the Whole, which series of recommendations. That is not provided from me.
Okay.
That came from the clerk of committee.
Okay,
So I'd like to make a motion for the presentation.
you want to what?
I would like to make a motion for a presentation that he provided to us, that if he likes to do a PowerPoint, or unless you want to go over this, whichever way you want to do it, if the members like to do this.
Well, we did that.
This is a new one. He said this is new.
This is a new proposal?
It is not, I apologize. This information is, it's a PowerPoint presentation that we plan to present tonight. It is on the topic of affordable housing and inclusionary zoning. Inclusionary zoning, certainly, we have discussed that here. Be happy to provide the presentation if the council wishes. If this committee does not wish to do so, then happy to to follow.
How's that? Councilor Napolitano?
I don't think it's not a question that we don't want to see a presentation. I'm just wondering, is this reinforcing the information that we've already been provided, or is this new information?
Thank you for the question. It is reinforcing information that has already been provided.
Okay. Well, yeah, the thing is that the entire council and everyone here saw the initial presentation. I don't think there's an issue of the reasoning behind it. And the thing is, if these recommendations, which again, are not in here, came out of that initial committee of the whole, that's fine. What I'd like to do is I'd actually like to see these in the actual ordinance, so that way there, granted, it's great to see section 2, section 4, but in the context of the ordinance, and I've had an opportunity to write several of them.
Sure.
I'd feel more comfortable seeing these changes in that context. Though everything here there's nothing different here than what the committee of the whole had recommended. And, I mean, if this is just reinforcing it, I don't think there's an issue of whether we're on board. I think that's fine. If this has been additional work that's being done, I would hate to have you do the work and us not see it. But if this is just the same reinforcement, the same material we had, I think the council is sold on the idea. It's just a question of how these changes, work in the flow of the
Certainly.
actual ordinance itself. That's what I thought we were going to be seeing tonight.
Certainly. And I would be happy to take these recommendations and incorporate, and it can have something prepared for next Monday, if that is the wish.
So all we would do is, then, in that case, we would make a recommendation for these changes, Mr. Chairman, and then the completed document that we're going to vote on will be available to us on Monday.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's a more prudent way of utilizing our time.
Councilor?
I just had a question. I just want to know, does other cities surrounding us have this ordinance in place that they have 10%?
Some do, some don't. Most recently, the city of Chelsea just worked on their inclusionary zoning. City of Malden does not, for example. Somerville does, Cambridge, and other cities do
Does
have it.
Medford also have it, do you know?
Apologize for a second. Let me turn around to one of our consultants. They do not.
And if this does not, say we do not put this in place, what could happen if we don't?
Well,
We've been doing it without it, so,
sure. So a couple of things that certainly jump out. You may recall mentioning last time, we are not at our 10% of affordable units as a community. And so we do run the risk of a 40B development coming in. And with that being said, under the state requirements, a 40B developer could come in and proceed with their development. And because the city is not at its 10%, it does make it easier for a unfriendly 40B, if you will, to come in without any benefit of review and so on, potentially.
and if we had this in place, they would not be allowed to put a
Well-
40B, or is that still something that
Well-
they can do?
Well, this is something that we are doing as part of our affordable housing production plan. And following the recommendations from there, we have to make incremental progress to get towards a 10%, because the state realizes that, look, right now we're deficient, I'm going to say 300 or 400 or so units over the years. And we're continuing to build market rate housing without any protection for affordable units. So it is a moving target that is just moving against us and not necessarily helping us out. So with respect to the idea of if we were to adopt inclusionary zoning, we would still have to make, and the intent is to make incremental progress each year. We have a plan which this council, which was approved by this council, I think, a year or two ago. And one of the recommendations in there is to adopt inclusionary zoning and also other recommendations. So we can continue to work towards getting the number of affordable units, getting our number of affordable units towards that 10%.
And I know in the past, someone may have mentioned that if a building, we do this, pass this, and the units stop building up, and there's a few that have to be affordable, who pays the difference? The other people that are in the building? Is the rent, if there's rentals, right? So if they're rentals and they're charging 2,000 and someone's paying only 1,500, who's picking up the other additional
Well-
500? If everybody's
Sure. So with respect to the rentals itself, there is only a certain amount that you can charge for the affordable units itself. So with respect to what is market rate and versus what is the rental rate, there are certain limits to that. I don't know if our housing consultant would want to echo in as well. If I may, invite her up.
Yes.
Courtney Starling from Community Opportunities Group.
Good evening. Courtney Starling, Community Opportunities Group. Oh, slide. There you go. 6 years of higher education, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have a direct answer to that question. It really depends on the development and what the subsidy is. If it is a development that's built with subsidy, there's actually a slide in here that highlights what some of the subsidizing agents are. If it's a tax credit project, the subsidy comes from there. If it is a federally funded project, there'll be an actual cash subsidy. Some of the subsidies come in the form of generous financing, so long, 30-year loans, no interest, that can be extended. So the funding mechanisms vary by program. With inclusionary zoning units, the subsidy tends to be frankly, it depends. Sometimes the subsidies run with the tenants. Sometimes the projects are built without a direct subsidy, but the subsidy instead is technical assistance through the state. And so generally speaking, what you see with inclusionary zoning units is that part of it is borne out by the development overall, and part of it is usually subsidized by an additional source.
If I may? Thank you. I know this was in the initial presentation, but, again, these meetings are covered for the public. Could you, for the public purpose, could you explain to them what a 40B developer is and why it is that we would want to have this change made to prevent the type of development that would bring to the community?
Sure. And also, Courtney, feel free to chime in as well. But in terms of the 40B developer itself, they would be looking to, there are, in other examples too, developers that are within the market of creating affordable units. It's part of their business plan, their business model. 40B developer could come in, and they typically, and Courtney, correct me, they typically tend to be larger size developments within to a given community. So it goes before, a 40B project go before the community's zoning board of appeals, and through that process, the ZBA may approve or deny a 40B development. Some of the issues as far as or challenges with a 40B development could be composition of the units, the actual management of the company or the entity itself. With that being said, 40B developer comes into the city, the ZBA, as I said, may wish to grant or deny. But should a ZBA deny under the circumstances where we're under now, where we're not at 10%, they could receive what's called a constructive approval from the state. And it is almost always, I believe, granted constructive approval. And with that constructive approval, it essentially allows developer to proceed with their own project on their own terms without any input from the community. And feel free to add to that as well.
I would say the shortest answer is that any developer can be a 40B developer. Where you see 40B development occur is where the local zoning is not going to work for them and their purposes, so what they choose is to go the 40B route. In exchange for affordability, they are able to obtain a comprehensive permit that can override local zoning regulations, Title V regulations in excess of what the state allows, Board of Health, Concom. So basically, all of your local controls are bypassed by the comprehensive permitting process with the state, which is why it is generally the preference of most communities to have that process be within their own control, and so to be able to have opinions on it. The other thing with 40B is that while you're not at your 10% threshold, because you do have an active housing production plan, if you meet the housing goals within the plan as established on a yearly target, that if you meet those, you will get what is called safe harbor, which gives the town the authority to deny comprehensive permits because you are working towards your goals incrementally. So that is the other important component of inclusionary zoning, is that to show that you are making progress and to get additional units on the roll so that you maintain your local control even when you're not at 10%.
And if it were to come in and develop it, you're overriding a lot of our
Yes.
our own guidelines. That also affects our ability to, what we charge for property tax on those properties as well, isn't it? Am I mixing that up with Section 8?
So Section 8 is actually a fairly different program, and there's
Okay.
two types of Section 8. There's the voucher program that goes with the actual household, and then there is project-based Section 8 where the subsidy stays with the housing project itself. Section 8 does have some impacts with property taxes, 40B in and of itself. Less, I would say, that the property will still be assessed based on its overall value.
All right, thank you. Again, that was mainly for the public's purpose, and I thank you for going through that.
No problem.
Thank you.
I would like to see if we can get it to the councils before, so they can actually look at it before the meeting on Monday night. Is that possible, you think, by Monday? Yeah, that's right. We're not gonna be able to get it out in time. Because they're not gonna have enough time to look at it.
If we could get a copy on our desks, we would come in, and then they'll ask to look at it. Susan, when would you have this done?
Well, these changes are relatively easy. I could have them finished tomorrow, and I do have everyone's email addresses. I'd be happy to.
I think the
To
email's
forward
fine.
That's
Because I don't think it by mail, it won't get in time. We won't get it in time by postal.
Someone's come right up here from work.
And there's-
If it's in Monday's mail, we
Yeah.
have an opportunity to look at it before.
And if I may, there is also one counselor that I believe I would somehow get it to that counselor tomorrow. So. Hand delivered.
Motion to adjourn.